And tonight, we investigate. Americans get more than 3 billion prescriptions every year, 3/4 of them from the big chain drugstores. So how often do you take home the wrong pill?
Forgetting to put your fries in the bag isn't going to lead to any harm. Obviously, we're dealing with something much more serious with medicine.
Brian Ross first investigated the problem of pharmacy errors 3 years ago and has a new report tonight.
Beth Hipley was an active mother of 3 in Lakeland, Florida, when she became the victim of a prescription error.
I heard her screaming for help. She was on the floor in the bathroom.
The blood thinner pills Beth Hipley got from Walgreens were 10 times the prescribed dose. She was crippled by a massive stroke, forced to stop treatment for early-stage breast cancer, no longer able to care for her children.
Are growing up without me.
It turns out the error was made by a high school student who went from working at a movie theater to being a pharmacy technician at Walgreens.
I should have typed it with 1 milligram.
And how did you type it?
With 10 milligram.
Beth Hipley died from her untreated breast cancer 3 years ago. And last week, a Florida court upheld an almost $26 million judgment against Walgreens, one of the biggest ever for a prescription error.
Next on line, please.
Critics say the big chains have brought a fast food culture to the drugstore business. To keep up the pace, the chains rely heavily on pharmacy technicians, for whom there is no national age restriction or training standard. In another lawsuit, a Kroger's pharmacy technician testified she had only 2 hours of training.
I really felt like I had just been thrown into the lion's den, and I was just going to have to figure it out on my own.
The drugstore trade group says technicians and the prescriptions they fill are closely supervised by licensed pharmacists.
Making sure that patients are safe has always been first and foremost.
Can you learn all you need to know in 2 hours?
I couldn't answer that question because I'm not familiar with a 2-hour training program. However,
have you ever heard of anything like that?
No, I haven't.
Hi, I'd like to fill this.
A report published just last year, based on an ABC News undercover investigation, found errors in 1 of 5 prescriptions filled. The major chains treat their error rates as a closely held secret, and there is no federal requirement to publicly report prescription errors, even those involving serious injury or death.
Why would the public need to know this, and why would they want to solve the problem?
But you can't tell me if the number of accidents and errors has gone up or down?
No.
Principal causes?
I can't, because it's, again, not a requirement for mandatory reporting.
Walgreens had no comment on the $26 million judgment in the case of Beth Hipley, but in a statement it said it works continuously to improve quality and accuracy. Like the other big chains, Walgreens would not tell us its error rate or even whether the rate is up or down, Diane.
And she said, why would the public want to know this?
That's the approach.
Tell me the first thing we can all do when we go to the drugstore.
Well, particularly with refills, check to make sure the new pills are the same as the ones you're taking previously, because in many cases they look alike and the names sound alike, so confusion is possible.
But you're going to be looking further into these indistinguishable labels that we see on some of the pills.
They standardize everything and they get
Right.
confused and mixed.
And you're going to have that report for us later on in the week. Thanks, Brian. And coming up, the secrets of a disaster, what we're just learning now.